Can I move on to item 8? Is this yours, Graham?
Yes, Chair. Chair, this report deals with the issue of the Cemetery Road Allotments. This very detailed report has been a little while in getting to Cabinet, as we have explored all avenues that would allow us to build a much-needed 420-place new school in an area that is desperate for school places, without impacting on the allotments and the surrounding area. But there was no viable alternative to the plan before you today. I fully understand the opposition to the proposals in this report. However, as an administration, we have a legal and moral duty to provide high-quality school places for the children of Kirklees. This is a very difficult part of Kirklees to build a new school in, due to the amount of existing buildings and housing, and the lack of space to construct a new facility has limited the choice. Schools have a duty to provide outdoor play area, as the ability to play and interact at dinner time and breaks is vital to children's development. This development is things like social skills and also allows them to use their energy to keep active. Well thought out and play provision can also spark their imaginations. Good school play provision is even more important in a very built-up area such as the one the new school will serve. I am a firm believer and fully support allotments and believe we should encourage people to use them as much as possible. And where there is demand, create new ones. They are a cheap way to provide alternate allotment holders with good quality fresh vegetables, and they can also provide regular exercise and can help with social isolation. All these things are important, and they're the sort of thing we believe contribute to the Council's early intervention and prevention agenda. However, there is no loss of allotment provision caused by the use of the current site. As part of the new school facility, we have invested heavily to create new allotments that have much better facilities than the existing ones, and we will do all we can to help those plot holders that wish to move to the new sites to do so in as easy and stress-free way as possible. Chair, I recommend that Cabinet accept this report before us today.
Nice. Hello, world. Okay. Right, my name is Debbie, and I'm campaigning to save the 34 allotments at Cemetery Road. You may remember a group of us before Christmas handing over a petition of over 5,000 signatures to save this much-loved land, a petition that was sadly denied a hearing. But anyway, moving on. Today we're talking about the appropriation of the land from allotments to educational use. Now, this appropriation, I believe, is premature for one big reason. There is a very simple solution that will mean everyone is happy, a positive outcome for all concerned. I know, it sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? So, I've got my visual aids. Make sure I've got it right. You'll see my hands are shaking now. All right, okay, like that. Yep, okay. All right, so here is the council plan for sports fields over the allotments. So you see this area at the top is the area that would have been the 34 allotments with the 2 sports fields on. Now, that's the school building, it's car parks, car parks. What I'm saying is, our lovely solution, so everybody's like bated breath now. Here, there's the allotments, just a little chunk taken off for the car park, and the 2 sports fields, but just there. There's plenty of room there. These just wriggle up a bit, plenty of space. And in fact, on the council's own visuals, that's pretty much the plan at the beginning. Okay? You can look at them afterwards if anybody wants to. Okay. Back to my speech. So, the sports fields are just moved to the other side of the school building. They're on spare, unused land that belongs to Greenhead College and Kirklees. Really simple solution, and one that the council proposed on its original plans, as we can see. So, Greenhead College are more than willing to discuss the use of this land. Barry Shearman has invited them to a meeting with the council so that we can move forward. Barry's been very prolific in his support. Unfortunately, Barry has had no response from the council to the plans or the invitation to meet. So, just to be clear, there is nothing in this proposal to delay the building of the school. We just think that this simple solution needs investigating, that's all. Indeed, allotment holders welcome the building of the school. Absolutely, it's very much needed in our local community. So, if you have an inkling that this solution could work, just even a little inkling that might work and it's worth discussing, can we delay the appropriation until after discussions have been held? There are over 5,500 people following this, including celebrity gardeners, Toby Buckland and Matthew Appleby nationwide, hard-hitting political commentators like Jane Merritt, Time Woman of the Year. Please, let's show them democracy, engagement and common sense are alive and well in Huddersfield Town Hall.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jonathan Adamson. You're probably getting a bit familiar with me by now. I live in the gatehouse, Edgington Cemetery Gatehouse, close to the proposed development site. Following on from Debbie's fine address to you, I am sorry to say I do not see any of the simple proposals we have made to integrate the surrounding environment into the development as a whole, for the benefit of everyone, reflected in the officer's report to Cabinet, or any meaningful acknowledgement of the detailed legal evidence we have submitted to Kirklees Legal Services. To take one critical legal issue, whether Cemetery Road allotments are in fact temporary or statutory. The officer's report does not mention the term permanent allotments used throughout the council's minutes from the 1920s. As you will understand from the report, whether allotments were appropriated determines their designation as statutory or temporary today. In this respect, the minutes of the Agricultural Committee dated 9th of December 1935 under the heading The Town and Country Planning Act 1932, Huddersfield Town Planning Scheme, Land for Allotments, records land comprising about 8 acres sloping down from Highfields to St John's Church is approved for use as allotments, and the town planning maps were requested to be amended accordingly. In the report, the officers claim that these allotments will be recorded on other maps. Kirklees officers do not dispute that this land is Cemetery Road allotments. On the 11th of November 1943, the minutes of the Agricultural Special Subcommittee under the heading Permanent Allotments, Town Planning Scheme, record that the General Superintendent submitted a list of allotments in the borough which was zoned under the Town Planning Scheme 1935, and also a draft list of additional allotments under the control of the Agricultural Committee. The evidence we have previously submitted to Kirklees shows Cemetery Road allotments were appropriated by the Agricultural Committee from the General Estate for allotment purposes in 1935. Subsequent minutes, such as the one dated 1943 above, also confirm Cemetery Road allotments were considered permanent allotments after 1935. The phrase statutory allotments does not appear in the council minutes until the 1950s. Therefore, Cemetery Road allotments should have been automatically designated as statutory allotments at some point after the Second World War. There are other reasons too why this designation should have been adopted during this period. Thus, by law, the Council is required to apply to the Secretary of State for permission to dispose of any area of Cemetery Road allotments for non-allotment purposes. Ultimately, only a judicial review can determine this matter, assuming the Council continues to argue Cemetery Road allotments are only temporary. In my opinion, by failing to acknowledge the appropriation of Cemetery Road allotments in 1935, the Council is, by subterfuge, seeking to extinguish fundamental community rights. I will be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, the people who haven't read the full report will not appreciate that in the report these items are dealt with in the report. It's a bit different to a matter of opinion. Now, the advice we are being given is that it's not a statutory allotment. In fact, on 15th of September 1958, resolved not to conclude this as a statutory allotment. But really, the bottom line of it is not about the legal arguments or something else. It's about argument about what is the effect of this. We are wanting to build a new school with the provisions of new school house, and I think everyone agrees to that. The people who are on the allotments have been offered allotment places in other. No one is going to be deprived of an allotment. So we're asking some, and I don't know how many is left, but we're asking some people to move for allotment. Some of these allotments are empty. And you said that in the report it actually says that the school didn't want to sell the other two fields that you're proposing that we should have. The governor's declined to sell us those fields. It's in the report.
That discussion hasn't been had between us.
Is it in the report, which you've got in front of you? It quite clearly says that the governors of the school declined to sell us those. They sold us the one that the school is being built on, but they declined to. The report states that. The report quite clearly says that the governors were asked to. Sorry. The report quite clearly says that the school was asked to sell that land to allow the play area for the school, and they declined. They said they want to keep it their ownership, but agreed to sell one part of land where the school built. Well, sorry, that's what we've got in the report. Graham, do you want to answer?
Just when the gentleman's finished. This discussion around that land has been had with officers on numerous occasions, because this report, as I pointed out earlier, has been quite a while in the making, and I've asked the question numerous times, and other colleagues have. We were not allowed to buy that land. The school made it quite clear that they weren't going to sell that land. Sorry, excuse me.
Sorry, can you please listen to the answer?
Sorry,
stop interrupting.
If you want to debate, we'll do that later. This is not a place for debate. This is a meeting held in public. This is a meeting held in public, not a public meeting. Let me finish. I am assured by officers on numerous occasions that the college were not prepared to sell that land. We have spent significant amounts of money creating a new allotment. There is no loss of facility here. It's in a slightly different position. I understand that sometimes people get wedded to a specific thing, but we've actually created, in many ways, a better facility, because we put an awful lot of money into infrastructure in the new sites. We worked with the plot holders. My understanding is 14 of them have already moved and are happy. We gave them those that came forward.
No.
Well, okay, nobody's moved it.
The subsoil is compacted on those. If it was it's really emotional. I'm sorry, but it really is.
Right. As I said, we've created a new space. We've invested heavily in creating this space, and my understanding is that has been approved by the Parks and Department that's done that work. And I notice Julian's here this afternoon. I've no doubt we can have a conversation with Julian afterwards, who's our allotment officer, and I suspect that Julian will be in agreement with what we've achieved up there. So, in answer briefly, They wouldn't sell the property to us, the land, and we have invested to make sure that no loss of allotments occurs during this site. It's quite clear in the report, and like all legal documents, you can probably interpret it one or two more ways. I can't find anything in there that says that these are statutory allotments, and that's the difference. They don't appear to be statutory.
Can we be clear that if there were statutory allotments, then we would make a request to the Secretary of State. The request we've been making was to build a school that is much needed, and said we'd provide the same number of allotments with better facilities at a site nearby. That's the decision we would ask the Secretary of State to make. Now, a rational decision, I would think that a rational decision we have been asked to make, do we want a new school with adequate playing facilities? That's what we're saying. And for a great length of time, these negotiations have been going on. Options have been looked at by all the officers. Negotiations have been had with the school about selling the land. And this is the choice we've got in front of us. The choice the Cabinet's got to make is, do you want a new school on this site, and which we accept the consequence of that? That means some people will have to move allotments to a better site. That is the question. That is a question.
But utilises the environment in the best possible way.
If they just add a little insight into it. I remember having a lot literally there in the 1970s, and it was well understood by all allotment holders then, we're talking mid-1970s, this was temporary, and ultimately it would be taken back in for further use, which might be a school or might be for housing. And it was then understood. That is in the 1970s. And the piece of land that we took over, I remember, was wilderness. And we had to rescue it from the wilderness and bring it back to allotment. I think it now subsequently is back to wilderness.
We understand. Can I understand that we've got two objectors who don't wish these allotments to be moved, and we've got the report in front of us saying we wanted to build a school on this site. Could I ask the Cabinet to vote for the recommendations in the paper? All those in favour, please show. That is carried unanimously. Can I move on to item 9, please?
We haven't asked our questions yet. We registered to ask questions. You voted before we've asked our questions.
Ask a question then now.
Right, there are 4 questions to be asked, I suspect. Do you want me to go first?
It's fine. Yeah. It is my understanding the council is required...
Press.
Oh, sorry, love it.
Unpress yours and press yours off.
Oh, yeah, yours is on. Yeah. It is my understanding the council is required to provide a certain number of allotments per head of population. Does the council provide this number of allotments or more within the Huddersfield area? Okay, that's well. Okay, that's right.
It's going to be easy to answer them one at a time.
It might be easier, but if you could have put these questions in, it would have been easier if you put these questions in much earlier.
We weren't asked to put them in earlier.
Well, it
we
wouldn't
talked to Richard Dunn.
Sorry, look, can I explain? This campaign has been going on for quite a long time. We've had people come into the council.
We've had
you know
one
full
meeting.
well
We've
what
had one meeting with the
on.
council. It took them 3 months to have a meeting with Barry Sherman. 3 months.
We have
we were
no
promised
need
to
to have a
follow
meeting with
up.
Barry Sherman.
We were promised to follow up.
Can I make it clear that Barry Sherman may be the MP for Huddersfield, but he has no bearings on whatsoever on what we're discussing at this point in time. It is the responsibility of the council to dispense by making sure there are adequate schools, and within that schools, making sure if there is any provision that we make like for like. And I think what we've done is we've made an investment in state-of-the-art allotments, which I'd be happy to take over any day.
We really need to come down and have a look.
I have had a look.
Well, we haven't.
I am not.
We're having an answer to another question. Well, actually, a question that hasn't been asked. Yeah, she's asked the question.
I am not
There's
aware
an
that
answer
there's-
to the question.
I'm not aware there's any legislation that means we have to provide X number of allotments per head of population.
Right. We were promised by the council, people sat round a table with us and promised us a second meeting to discuss this option. And every time we approach people, nobody responds. Well, why have I had no response?
I'm not able to speak on behalf of officers.
She has.
Okay, it obviously keeps switching off. I don't know why. We keep pressing it and it disappears. Maybe there's some reason for this. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, well, okay, I expect you will say it's a ball up or something. What percentage of the land purchased and appropriated for the construction of the school will be owned by the school?
As long as it can be complied by legislation.
That's not an answer. I'm asking for a percentage of the land.
It'll be the legislation around educational facilities. This is a new school, so this will automatically become an academy.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. This is a follow-up question. Will the council be able to sell any land it considers to be surplus to the needs of the school in the future?
The school, because it's a new build, will automatically become an academy and therefore is not in the control of the council. So no, we won't be selling
about
again.
the land that the report claims is required for the school. That's what I'm talking about. He hasn't answered my question. To the school.
Yes.
It will. So the entire area of land, including the playing fields on the allotments, will belong to the school.
It forms part of the new academy, yes.
Will it belong to the school?
It forms part of the academy. It's a new school, so it automatically, by legislation, becomes an academy. Therefore, the curtilage of the school will be part of the academy.
Yeah, we know about the curtilage of the school. I'm talking about the total area of land.
Sorry, the total area of land required for the school is the curtilage of the school.
The playing fields, there seems to be a lot of ambiguity about...
No, sorry, there's no ambiguity for any school in Kirklees whatsoever. Playing fields with schools are owned by the schools.
Okay.
There's no ambiguity whatsoever, and there's no ambiguity on this case apart from in your mind.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So basically that area on the allotments will belong to the school. Yeah, that's what you told me. Okay. What provision has the council made for community use of the proposed playing fields to be sited on Cemetery Road allotments?
Those playing fields will form part of the academy, and it is entirely to the academy how they use their facilities.
Okay. Sport England, my understanding is that Sport England... This is a follow-up
Look, this is
question.
not for you to make speeches, just ask a
This is a
question.
follow-up question. I need to tell you the context in order to ask the question. The context is, my understanding is that Sport England, which you will find probably referred to in the report and has been part of the way that this whole issue has been discussed for some time, Sport England insisted on a replacement football pitch, which was being taken as the footprint for the new school, which would be available to the community with improved facilities. Where is that football pitch going to be provided?
page 2.17 in the report. Sporting I've reached agreements with the council to provide a new facility and the college.
That was in the early negotiations on the understanding that a full playing field would be replaced for the one that was to be taken up by the school.
We've taken the decision on this. The decision was quite plain. You wanted to procrastinate, fine.
I don't want
but
to
let's
procrastinate.
do it. I'm sorry. There are other people here there are other people here wanting to discuss the next item of the agenda, and I think you've had quite a long time at this, and it's been going on for many months. So the decision we had to was quite clear. Do we want a new school, and are we happy that the people who are at allotments have been allowed allotments somewhere else with better facilities? And the answer to that is yes. And if we do want a new school, we've all answered that. So thank you. Move on to item 9 on the library service. Jeremy, do you want to speak first, or do you want Mr. Graham first? Well, you've got your names down first. That's why I'm not picking you out for special, Jeremy. It's just that your name. You were the first one